few minutes ago, so this is not going to be like thousands of people. It's who knows with YouTube. What's up, everybody? But what we do here, as you guys know that have done this before, is I just want to kind of tell you guys a little bit of the genesis of this lesson. Of course, it was the request for this Don't You Worry About a Thing, but I like to do Stevie Wonder tunes that really can work from a solo piano standpoint and outwards. The great thing about us playing this music is, playing this instrument and playing this music and gathering and choosing kind of what compositions we're going to take and bring into our repertoire and maybe arrange or whatever. But it's also the opportunity to kind of think, if it can work solo piano and we can build up from there, it can work duo, vocals and piano, horn and piano, bass and piano, like these different adaptations, trio, classic, piano trio, piano, bass, and drums, maybe piano, bass, and guitar, and then outwards from there, quartet, quintet, of course, all those different things. So, like taking Stevie Wonder tunes, almost all of his material I find works really well, but certain tunes work better than others. I know I've done this tune a lot, and I've played it a lot solo piano, recorded it years ago, If It's Magic. And what makes it work for solo piano? Well, it's just great melody, great harmony, just a great composition, a great song. But when we talk about taking away the lyrics, because the lyrics are such a big part of Stevie's music. I mean, he's a master musician and composer, but also a lyricist. So he's doing mostly that together, the music and the lyrics together. So he's got a connection there that is kind of rare in a way, like maybe a little different than collaborating with a lyricist, which he did some of that too. But the idea is like, how do we pick those tunes that'll work really well? And then for you guys, what I'm thinking about is like, what are tunes that are not necessarily easy, but they've got some simple concepts in them that and they're a little bit maybe more on the easy intermediate side, at least not like totally, advanced. I think of like, Too High. I had to play a little bit and start singing so I can remember the name of it. Too High, which is like a really advanced tune. It's a great tune too, and a lot of really cool jazz sensibilities built into that. But what we're gonna do today, Don't You Worry About a Thing, is a little bit more approachable, and it has some just incredible instructive elements to it. And by that, I mean that if we just learn from the composition, if we don't chase around after it, if we just let the composition come to us, in other words, we learn little key parts that I'm gonna talk about during the lesson and really understand what's important about those, that it can improve our playing. And I think great composition is always like this. Like, we can talk about harmony, we can talk about groove, we can talk about clave, we can talk about, harmonic progressions of a specific variety. And we can theorize about that, we can analyze that, and that's always great, but there's nothing like, to get that kind of groove, just to take that intro and learn it the way Stevie does it, then we can kind of pour it out from there. But that gives us that feel, it gives us that connection between that. I don't want to get too much into it because we're going to do it in the lesson. But it's just to say that, like, great tunes, we always want to take the opportunity to not only learn them so that we can play them, so that we can have fun with them, so that we can enjoy being a part, that connection. It's like if you happen to see Stevie Wonder in person or get a chance to meet him, like, you learn some of these tunes, like, really with the authenticity of the way that he wrote it. Like, you'll have another connection. You can kind of shake his hand and be like, we already know each other, as opposed to just a fan and listening to it. With nothing wrong with that, because I'm that for sure too. I mean, I've been listening to Stevie Wonder's music for a long time. But what we're doing today is we're going to really get inside of Don't You Worry About a Thing. I'm going to hopefully show you guys a few little entry points, a few little doorways for an understanding of kind of, you know, what makes this song great, and also how you can use it to improve your playing and get your playing greater. And then just sort of those key elements to make the tune make sense. We talk a lot here at the Jazz Piano Method lesson and Open Studio in general about, you know, signposts and architecture and like patterns and like, well, what is it? So we're definitely going to talk about that on this tune because Stevie Wonder is a master of that. So I'm just going to show you what's there. I'm not going to be making up this stuff. I'm just going to kind of show you some little places. So if you know this tune, great. If you have heard it a lot but don't know it, that's great too. If you've never heard it, that's even greater because you're really going to be in for a treat. Let me make sure you guys, we're going to listen to the recording a little bit. Make sure everybody can hear. So that's what's happening. We're going to mainly do that for tempo and that kind of, and groove and vibe. So, all right, let's get started. The way we do this, in case you are new here, is we do a clap. Are we recording? We're recording. We're on YouTube Live, and we're with our friends. Big shout out to our Open Studio Pro community, which is here on Wednesday. We gather live every week. Hey, hey, hey. And they give me the energy and the support and get a little peek behind the scenes on how we do these lessons and get a chance. We'll have a little chance at the end to answer some questions. I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to see those because we got a lot of stuff happening here. But let's do a good lesson first, and then we'll see. So thank you guys for being here, Open Studio Pro. Thank you, YouTube Live. Let's do this. We ready, Caleb?
Yep, we're rolling.
Caleb says we're ready. Here we go. What's going on, everybody? Peter Martin here. Welcome to this week's Jazz Piano Method live lesson. I'm so excited. Well, let me start again. It's live, but it's going to be... Anyway, this is a chance to do another clap. See? Here we go. What's going on, everybody? Peter Martin here. Welcome to the Jazz Piano Method. Welcome to this week's lesson. I'm so excited to be here. I'm always excited to be here, to be honest, but I get extra happy and elated and grateful and just inquisitive and a lot of curiosity whenever we're talking about Stevie Wonder's music, because I love his music, but it goes for me, and I know for a lot of you that have started to learn his music, it's so exciting because Stevie's music can teach us things, and that's what we're going to really talk about today. I mean, we're going to be talking about a great tune that was a special request from one of our members, so thank you for that. A lot of folks know this by the intro. This is Don't You Worry About a Thing. And there's some great stuff that this tune is going to teach us, so I'm excited to kind of reveal some of that and explore some of that. Let's just listen to the beginning. We're not going to do a whole lot of listening to the original because I want us to sort of get into, you can do that, of course, on your own, and you should, and that's always the most important thing. Number one, listen. But I want to kind of show you maybe how to listen, especially to the introduction. And it's an extended intro. All right, and it's really fun what he's doing. But this is all the intro. This is cool too because Stevie's playing on an acoustic piano. And you'll see in the chart below, which we'll have for you, what we want to do is get the clave, which is just the underlying groove and pattern that's often associated with so-called Latin music, Afro-Cuban, a lot of different styles. But the idea is like if we can get a feel. We're not going to go into a deep dive on what this actual clave is because there's actually a couple of them. But the main thing to know is to get the vibe and the feel of this tune. And the great thing about this is, you know, when we get into the melody, the same groove. It goes to like a little bit of a subgroove later on. We'll talk about that. But the whole point of the intro is to get the vibe and the groove. So if you can start to play this and maybe even play it along with the recording. Let's check it out. And the important parts of this to get are, and it's funny because we had it all transcribed. Big shout out to Max. I've never looked at a chart of this before, but it's interesting to see. But what you have is the specific syncopation and how that feels and how that affects the clave, how that affects the groove. You've got the interplay between the melody and the bass line. And so this will be a little bit tricky for some of you at first, because whenever we talk about independence of the hands, you know, it's got some challenges. So I want you to take it hands alone, but just know that once you get this intro and really get that locked in, that's going to help you. It's a little bit of a cheat code for the whole tune, right? And you can leave some parts out if you want, if you need to. But the idea is when we talk about syncopation, bop, scoo, bop, that's the first one there, because we got downbeats, D, 4, jack, go, ga, go, ga, go, ga, boo, da. And then that's so important that the pickup, the and of 3 to the 4th of the second bar. So we'll start at the top. Because that resets things. Back, go. So we're starting on the 1, back, go, up. Starting on the down, down, tick, up, tick, up, bo, ba. Then we go back to the down. So it's kind of, you can think about it as bookended, like ba, tick, go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Like that's sort of the reset, and that's why it feels like, and you'll hear that throughout the tune, that it's really a 2-bar phrase, a 2-bar clave. A lot of times people try to feel these bar by bar, and it's like, woo, you got to go where the music is. And Stevie just lays this out so good, and it's so simple. Like a lot of times, and I'm going to show you guys some, you know, some different voicings and stuff we can do. But check out what he's doing. It's such a great place to start. He's just single line. You know, isn't it great when something that sounds so great is so simple? And it's relatively easy to play once you get what that groove is. But the phrasing and the accents are super important. See it? And look, you're going to hear as he keeps going, he doesn't always play that. The bass doesn't always play that. The point is that it's always part of the clave. It's always part of the repeated rhythmic pattern. And once you get that, you can start kind of leaving it out. But I'm hearing it. You can alter it. Okay, so now let's just talk about the melody a little bit before I get into this too much, because once you learn this, I do want you to start being free, even over the introduction, to have some fun with it, just like the way Stevie is doing with his vocals. This line, that's actually going to become a counter melody, and it's actually going to morph into the harmonic underpinnings of the melody, because once we get to where the double bar is, where the verse starts, that becomes part of the harmony. So all that stuff is important to hear from the beginning, because then it'll make sense as you go into that next section, right? And so you might end up playing that in the right hand, right? But along with melody. That's a little more advanced, we'll get to that, but the point is that you're understanding kind of what it is, learning it on that intro, varying it. Okay, you can do it hands alone. And look, you can add, you know, thirds, you can add the whole triad. Left hand alone. Now the melody. So that's kind of eventually one of the places we're going to go with it. What I want you to learn first is just single line with the melody, because for this tune, you've got the feel now. It's going to be a lot easier to kind of start there, solidify that same feel, that same harmonic. You know, that, remember we talked about that melody becomes the counter melody, becomes the harmonic underpinnings. But it's a lot to play. I'm going to show you how we can get to that, but we start out. Now, don't worry about playing the exact bass line. Just fit in with that feel that you established as you learn the melody, right? And a lot of times, until you get the independence of the hands and how they lay in this clave, you're going to end up playing both hands together, which is okay. Just try to like bump to put something in with the left hand when you have a break in the right hand before you go on to. And in order to phrase the melody, it's fine to just where you're just playing half notes, whole notes, just going with the flow. That'll actually help you a little bit with your hand independence, okay? So how do we get to that? All right, this is kind of a more advanced way, but I want to give it to you as where you're going to go, because remember we talked about of getting that feeling. Once you get that, I'm still hearing that, right? So what I'm doing here, straight fourth voicings, the major third on top, and then I'm using, so we got E flat minor, E flat minor with the major seventh over B flat, but you can also sub in a B flat 7 flat 9. You don't have to, you can go. In fact, you should know both of them eventually so that you can kind of alter things. And then A flat 7. This is where it diverges from the introduction. This is all E flat minor major 7 on the intro over B flat, but it's all E flat minor. B major 7, dominant 7, minor 6, right? But then the melody to the 4. Ah, I love that. So what are we doing? To the 4, and then we go up another fourth. There's that root movement to D flat. And then we go up another fourth to F sharp, to B, up another fourth, and up another fourth to E. I'm going down a fifth, same as going up a fifth. So we got up. So this is all E flat minor based. The tune is actually in G flat major. Once we get to the chorus, you'll hear that, kind of the hook. Of course, E flat minor is the relative minor of G flat major. So it makes it. So here we go to the 4, but that's also the 2 of G flat major. We're not going there yet, but you want to start hearing that. And then what does it do? Instead of going to the 5, the D flat 7, it goes to D flat minor. So we're going a little bit of a fake out, 2-5-1 to B major, and then slides down half. Well, does it actually go to the E? Yeah, it goes to the E, which is like a tritone sub. So we've got it as F flat 7, which is correct. I just never thought about it like that. So great fourth movement. You want to kind of hear that. That's a great way to learn a tune like this. Once you get here, we're going in fourths. You just have to learn when you're going to switch it to going down in fifths instead of up in fourths. You hear that? Bump. Remember from the intro. Bull bump going up to the 4th beat. And the way Stevie plays this, like dominant 9 straight. There's no alterations. You can add those in, but I would suggest learning it the way he does it first. Real, like, I wouldn't even say basic, because he gets into some advanced stuff later, and then it's a little bit more of a revelation when you're coming out of stuff that's a little bit straighter. Then the second, so then it repeats. Same thing. So just the melody and the timing of it's a little different. Same thing. It stays on the B major a little longer to the E7. This is the chorus, right? Don't you worry about a thing. Now we're at the 1. Okay, so this is our first big structural element that we understand, that we want to understand. We had the intro, of course, then we had these 2 phrases, 2 4-bar phrases based on E flat minor with the fourths. Now we've got a 2-5-1 seemingly to A major. But Stevie loves doing these backdoor 2-5-1s to unusual places. Right? B minor 7, E7 to G flat major. But it's not that unusual because it's the tonic key. And even though we haven't gotten there yet, being in the relative minor prepares the listener for that, right? So we got break. Now, this is really important. On that break, this is our first kind of obvious opportunity to do something that I think is really important on this tune, and that is to learn the melody in both hands. Because you'll have these opportunities to, you don't have to play the whole thing like that, but you'll have these opportunities like, well, even there, right? It just gives you that great octave kind of sound. And you know, you could play it in one hand, but there's something about, it's like having 2 singers sing apart. Even if they're right together, they have a different kind of sound, right? Your left hand and our right hand. Then play the chord, then break. So by learning the melody in 2 hands, we've got all these opportunities to do that. So you can do that playing along to the recording. Great way to get the groove and the feel and start to understand the form and get it in both hands. Okay? So let's do that pickup into the chorus. So pretty, so pretty. I've never seen this on paper. It just looks weird to me. But, so we got G flat. Now, we can do G flat major, we can do G flat major 9, we can do G flat major 6-9, 6-9 with the 7th, sharp 11, a lot of stuff we can do later, but let's learn it the way Stevie did it first. Because that's a very important counter melody that he plays there. Bing, bing, bing. And something for us to learn, us jazz players, is that sometimes we gotta simplify things, right? Break them down, because we think we're making stuff more advanced, but we're actually missing some important stuff. Not to say that we can't depart from that at some point, but we want to know it first, right? So G flat major, straight triad, which we're not supposed to do. But you can add that in if you want to sneak it in that 9th. But it leads so nicely to here, to this, what do we have it as, an E, F flat over G flat. It's really a G flat sus, right? G flat 9 sus functionally. The way Stevie plays it is very much, and then you would think, right? But what does he do? Oh, this is so great. Then it goes to the B. So we've got, we think it go to the B major, but there's a little bit of a bridge chord. It's a B flat minor, right? And that's what that melody is, that counter melody. B flat minor before it goes to the B major. Oh, I love this. Very, very Very Herbie Hancock influence, I think. M1D, She Tell Me a Bedtime Story. Going down a minor third or a major third between two major sevenths, right? So we've got. And you can play this like a G flat over B flat. That's an alteration I think works. Or just, I think Stevie plays. Well, he definitely does that. I think he just does straight minor 7. And then he plays that B major 7. You can certainly do B major 9. Then, and I've heard him on the recording. I don't know if he, the original on Intervisions, of course. I don't know if he ever does this, but I've definitely heard him do that live. So that's an option, right? But he goes to A flat major, and then B over, or C flat over D flat, or D flat 9 sus, and then to the tonic. How does he get there? Because that's definitely one of those like aha moments and things that people love about this tune, and it always makes me feel good. So from the chorus. That very strange B flat minor approach to B major. A flat major 7, which is the 2, like we'd be doing a 2-5-1 to the tonic, right? So you would think it'd be, which actually sounds pretty good, but that sounds better. So we got A flat major 7, and then we got that D flat sus. So the 2-5-1 is, right? You can learn those in all different keys. That's a fun thing, but so major 7 instead of a minor 7, and then a sus instead of a dominant. And how it affects the melody is, because the melody is already all diatonically within. It was all diatonically within that G flat major. Okay? Now at the end of the first ending, 5, very traditional, back to the top, to E flat minor. So we got the 5 of E flat minor. And Stevie plays like a straight B flat 7, flat 13. We usually would think about doing that. It's a different sound with the sharp 9 and the flat 13. You can do it, but again, learn the original first, because I kind of think it works better. Then you can let your ears, we want to have intentionality once we change it. I kind of hinted at this idea of like, you know, I'm kind of getting me out of, it's a funny place to go, but the idea of like, how do we sort of alter this? If I'm going to arrange it. Where I'm like on the spot arranging it, really trying to stretch it. I wouldn't do it that much. But that, like some of those ideas I would put in, but it's because I know that underlying foundation of it, right? And so then I can like think of things the same way I know the harmony's there. If I go to another groove, I mean the rhythm and the clave, that's still there, the melody, the chord progression, but also the exact foundation of what Stevie put. So when we get to these places like, chord, like I know that's the original, so if I go or, it's purposeful, you know what I'm saying, and you know the original, and then you can always come back to it, because that's such a great connection point for the listeners. I mean, this tune has been heard by a lot of people and loved by a lot of people. All right. All right, let's talk a little bit, since we're into the second repetition of the verse now, we're repeating back. back to the A, about how we can put some of this together. Because remember, the introduction, it's kind of hard to play all that. We can go up with the left hand here, but how do we stretch it out between the hands? So we got, we don't have to be as fancy as you think with all this kind of stuff. I know I played that some, but you can really start with this, E flat minor. So I'm going, I'm really thinking about, and then catching as much of that as I can, stretching out to the melody. Right? And I'm playing them right with it. And then here, same thing, pick 2 notes. 5th and the 7th. You got the minor 3rd up there in the root. That's a little alteration, flat 9. Right? So the foundation of this is, remember we practiced our left hand, so we have that. But right, melody and root, and then you add 2 notes. Even that's all just 2 notes. 2 hands. Remember Stevie? B flat minor, B major. Now we've got this, what do we have this as? The second ending. Well, this is like the bridge going to the refrain or whatever you call it. Second ending. We've got this great chromatic descending. Repeat. So what is it? G flat major, F major, simple triads, right? But what is Stevie doing? He puts the melody, he floats the melody up with a suspended force, right? So instead of like, it's the 4th is actually happening when the chord changes, with the syncopation. On the 4 again. Remember, like in the from the introduction. 4, 1, 2, 3. It's not. 1, 2, 3 the 4, 1, 2. Sorry, it's hard for me to count and play at the same time. But you'll see it there in the chart. That's that macro syncopation which make this stuff so hip. There was an earlier syncopation I think I forgot to include. It's very important because it's right as the melody comes in. Intro. When the melody first starts. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Stevie does that when he first comes in with the melody. He's singing all this funny stuff in different languages and playing around and doing the cool improv. And then when the melody starts, everybody, 2, 3, 4, like that's a subtle thing, but if you do that, you got a little bit of Stevie Street cred, I would say. That's a fun thing. And then you start to hear it, like when does he do that? When does he play around with B-do-da, like on the B, or versus up, you know, an approach, a half, the and of 4 tied over, a pickup syncopation, because it really affects the feel, like how you're going to connect or not with that clave, right? Okay, let's go back to this bridge. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's sort of simple in that you can play these very basic voicings and they sound really good. If you want to do that thing I played around with, it's like I'm just turning them into like instead of a G flat suspended fourth, I'm turning it into a G flat 13 sus 4, or like a C sharp minor 9 over F sharp, however you want to think about it. Because this sort of works. That's something that I would hear over that. And then you can extend that too. That might be a little much, but it's basically just 2 5 1s going down, starting on D flat minor to G flat 7. So I'm trying to think C sharp, F sharp. D flat minor 7 to G flat 7, and then chromatically. So it'd be like. Could work, but I kind of like it. You can always add some fun stuff in. Repeat. Okay, so that's the bridge. I'm calling it the bridge. I hope that's what it is. And then we got this last section, which is really just, I should know what this is called, but it's the part where Stevie's just not singing words, right? It's the hook, or whatever you call it, and it's all over E flat minor and that same harmonic pattern with a major 7, dominant 7, and then it goes to E major. That's what's different about the intro. Same clave, same groove, same initial harmonic movement with that inner voice, but then it goes E major 7 sharp 11. So we got another great use there of the two hands, of having the two hands. I'm not saying me great use. I'm saying a great reason for us to practice it where we could apply it. Let me come out of the second. To solo, we're back to the top. So that last little section is just that great line that Stevie does from E flat minor. Then you can add in a little 5 back to the top. So this is where Stevie kind of does a little bit of like riffing on the melody and stuff, and I think this is a good place for solo. Today's lesson, because we're moving things along, and we're not going to get into a crazy amount of soloing over this, but once you learn this tune, you'll kind of know what to do. I do want to show you some different options, and kind of level 1 on this is just really playing 2 notes with the left hand. A lot of times you'll hear me. Playing a bunch of stuff and going back and forth, and it can be a little bit overwhelming as to how do you get to that point. There's not actually that many elements, so I just want to give you a couple of different levels to sort of get there. And this is really for any way that you play this tune, but specifically, I think it'll work for over this solo section. So we're going to look at the left hand as just 2 notes. That's level 1. So we got. So we're starting at A, at the beginning of beginning of the melody of the verse. So what 2 notes do we play with the left hand? Well, we can play octaves, we can play thirds, we can play, minor 10s for sure. A lot of people can't, reach that. You don't need to actually. This actually will play root and 7th, thirds again. That gives you that, that introduction, that counter melody that is a recurring thing. Where at the solos, you don't have to play it, but it's a nice way to. So that was all like roots, octaves, thirds, root and seventh, root and third, root and seventh, thirds, root and sevenths, root and sevenths. And octaves work a lot. Okay, so that's sort of like level one. Just start with those two notes, do it on its own. Maybe a little bit of comping in the right hand, or just simple solo. So you're getting the form. Okay? Now, level two is we're going to take those two notes, just break them up a little bit. Side. So that'll kind of give you that first little bit of independence, a little bit of movement in that left hand. So same two notes, or any two notes, but just break them up. And that, I think, will lead you nicely to... I missed the very important chord, B flat minor. What am I? B major. Yeah, B major. Oh yeah. B flat minor. See, just missing that important chord threw me off. Oh, of course, A flat major. Okay, so what I was trying to show you is where we're breaking things up, right? But now we're going up, a little bit of a modified stride almost. Like roots, maybe a little bit of that, two notes, but even just then up to some rootless voicings, right? And not worrying about when we have to go back. We're looking at those possibilities of just root and seventh or just octaves and then jumping up there, okay? Because really, the two-handed stuff is great, but you can do a lot of stuff before you even get there. In terms of improv. That's all basically just modified straight. B flat minor. And that's that great weird 2-5-1. That's the great thing. When you learn that form and those few little kind of weird things, unique little aha moments, you've got them then when you get into the solo. You won't have them at first. You'll be looking at the chart, no problem. But you want to kind of circle that that part and the B flat minor to the B major and really focus in on that. one more thing I just want to talk about with the groove. We're going to go back. We should have been listening to more, but you'll be listening to the original. I slowed things down a little bit so that so some of this stuff was more approachable. We weren't that far below. But you always want to stay in touch with the original groove. So as you're practicing, things will kind of either slow down for you to fit things in, that's fine, but you always want to stay in touch with the groove. It's kind of like really good endurance runners. You know, even as they're getting tired and they're racing other people, they'll say as they start to drift back, it's like, that's okay because you can come back on that other runner, but never lose touch with them. You know, that's what a great coach would say. Like, don't let them get so you can't see them or so that you don't feel like, you know, you're close enough, you know, to kind of not touch them, but you want to feel that connection. And that's the same thing with the original groove. As you're practicing, don't let 15 minutes go by as you're learning this that you don't go back and just, you know. Because that'll drive you forward. That'll give you ability, a little bit of a metronome, better than a metronome. The way he comes, check out the way. Remember that anticipation? So smooth. Then he's on the beat. Detailed. See, I'm glad I'm listening to this again. Check out how he does it different every time. Don't you worry about a thing. Remember, we talked about instead of do that later. Don't you worry B flat minor. 'Cause I'll be standing on the side. Check it out. So many ways to practice along with it. Don't you worry about a thing. Just the company. Don't you worry about a thing. Still playing around with the melody, but he's not singing the words anymore. He's starting to solo, doing some improv. That's why I haven't played this tune a lot, but that's where I would be going in to solo at that point. All right. Thank you, Stevie Wonder, as always, for the great material. I hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. Until next time, happy practicing, peace, and piano. All right, that's the lesson. Thank you guys, everybody, for being here. If I can figure out how to see this, I can answer some questions if you guys like. What's up, YouTube? Thank you guys for joining us. Just to let you know, we do this every week here. And these are the beautiful Open Studio Pro, some of our most diehard and accomplished of our Open Studio Pro community. But these folks are, getting together. It's one of the most, I think, one of the coolest music communities online or anywhere. Folks are from all around the world, and it's an honor for me to be associated with them. We welcome you guys in. They're very nice. They don't bite. They help out. They inspire each other. They inspire me. They inspire Adam. They inspire Jeff Keyser. He was just texting me the other day saying how he wants to be doing more stuff with us and having how much fun he has. So thank you guys to Open Studio Pro. And thank you guys for YouTube. I'm going to take a couple of questions here, and if there are any. Sometimes I say that, and then it's like, there's always questions. Folks are smart. Would you solo? I'm going to go backwards. Eugene says, would you consider to solo just on the last 4 bars? Absolutely. Like, especially on a vamp out. You know, and using that melody, you always hear me referencing on all these great tunes, like really knowing the melody. We talk about Thelonious Monk's music, George Gershwin's music, you know, Stevie Wonder. Like, having that connection with the melody can make you sound better than you are. Like, that's why I play great tunes, because it helps me to sound good. So absolutely solo, like on a vamp out, or just make that the solo. And what you can tell is, what you can learn in terms of a jumping off point. What is that? This is minor pentatonic. Stevie Wonder loved this. He actually, there's on Fulfilling This First Finale, there's a tune where he starts just doing that. But he loves the minor pentatonic in terms of like his vocal stuff, but also some of the piano stuff. But the idea is that like he's got a little bit, like there's always that, he's usually, not usually, he does it sometimes, he actually sings it. That flatted fifth gives it that blues thing, but you can use that as a, like, because that is still underneath that. But the difference on the last 4 bars, the third, is that E major sharp 11. And what's great is the E flat minor pentatonic fits, of course, over the E flat minor. So all the fun stuff you can do. But it also fits over the E major 7 sharp 11. So the challenge is to give it a little bit of a difference. But I mean, because the bass line's going up, that probably is enough of them. So absolutely, great place. And you know, blues scale minor pentatonic is really your jumping place. Boom. Good. Thomas is definitely gonna spend some time with this song. Yeah, that's great, because like I say, this is the kind of tune that'll just teach you to be a better player, teach you to be a better musician, teach you to be a better, you know, better phrasing, really get in touch. Like a lot of times people wouldn't think, well, I'm gonna listen to Chucho Valdez to really get an authentic like Afro-Cuban vibe or Latin groove. And of course, you're gonna get great stuff from that. But you can get a great, like, almost like a simpler entry point for some people into like a really authentic Latin groove and clave. I know a lot of scholars are gonna scowl at me for saying this, but I really believe that through this tune, because Stevie's approach and the way he hears it and the way he wrote it is so like just organic. I mean, and it's also authentic, right? You know, I mean, it really is. It's just sort of a different approach, and I think it's a very great entry point to really understanding this clave and this groove. E minor to E minor major 7, and then walk down. Yeah. If you're gonna do it in another key, I guess, right? Or maybe you mean E flat minor. Yeah, that's the foundation. All right, let me just jump up and see if I missed any questions. And we are almost out of time. Whole tone. He mentioned the whole tone scale on You Are the Sunshine of My Life. I don't know if I did any whole tone on this. You might have been thinking that chromatic movement, maybe. Mentioned this. Okay, question from Alexa. What's up, Alexa? Out on the left coast. Alexa did some beautiful things at our masterclass last week. Beautiful Danny boy that I was thinking about all weekend. I remember a few weeks ago, Adam mentioned the descending pattern at the outset of this tune, and I wish I remember what he said. It was a contrafactor classic chord movement. Was it over this tune? I'm not sure. So I don't know. That's it. That's good. All right, I think I hit everything. Sorry if I didn't. If not, we will, where's the chart? Oh, you want to drop that in there? The chart?
I never got the chart.
Oh, you never got the chart. Look in the JPM Slack from Max. You'll see it.
Okay.
It'll be up on the lesson. This was just, I mean, I literally saw this right before we started for the first. I mean, I've been listening to this tune, and I haven't played it a lot, but I had Max make a chart this morning, and as far as I can tell, it's perfect. So that's amazing. But we'll try to drop this into the chat. If not, it'll definitely be posted on the site. So thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you next week. Peace. 1 o'clock. Look at that.